Hi, my name's Jobina Kennedy. I'm an Equestrian Australia A-Level Dressage Judge and Judge Educator from New South Wales. In this video, I'm going to be talking to you about the importance of the welfare of the horse in our sport, what we class as abuse, and as judges, if we witness or are made aware of any acts of abuse, how we should go about dealing with them. For this, you can refer to Section 1 of the Rulebook. Firstly, I'd like to talk about the Code of Conduct for the welfare of the horse. And this was developed by the FEI and is endorsed by EA. The welfare of the horse is always paramount, and it's very important that we as officials, as well as all others involved in our sport, adhere to this Code of Conduct. The first point to consider is that at all stages during the preparation and training of competition horses, welfare must take precedence over all other demands. This includes good horse management. Stabling and feeding must be compatible with the best management practices. Horses should always have good quality feed and clean water available. Training methods. Horses must never be subjected to training methods that are beyond their capability or maturity, or are abusive and cause fear. Farriery and tack. Foot care and shoeing must be of a high standard. Tack should be well fitted and not cause any pain or injury. Transport and transit. When being transported, horses should travel in vehicles that are well ventilated, maintained and hygienic, and horses should be well protected against injuries. Journeys should be well planned, and there should be adequate rest breaks. The second point is fitness to compete, and this encompasses fitness and competence and health status. Competitions are limited to fit and competent horses and athletes. Horses should be free of any disease or lameness. Veterinary advice should be sought if there is any doubt. Doping and medication and surgical procedures. Any doping or illicit use of medication will not be tolerated. After veterinary treatment, horses must be allowed sufficient time to recover. Any surgical procedures that threaten a horse's welfare must not be allowed. Pregnancy in mares. Mares must not compete after their 4th month of pregnancy or with a foal at foot. Misuse of aids. Any abusive use of natural or artificial aids will not be tolerated. The third point is that events must not prejudice horse welfare. This involves paying careful attention to competition surfaces. Competition arenas must have safe and suitable surfaces. Ground surfaces. Any areas where horses walk, train and compete must be well maintained and designed to avoid any risk of injury. Extreme weather. Events must not be held in extreme weather conditions, and there must be provisions for cooling in hot weather. Stabling. Stables must be hygienic, well ventilated, of sufficient size, and fresh bedding and water must be available. The fourth point is the humane treatment of horses, and this covers veterinary treatment. A veterinarian should always be available at an event to evaluate injuries or ailments of competition horses. Referral centres, competition injuries and euthanasia. If necessary, a horse may need to be transported to a referral centre for further assessment. Injuries should be monitored throughout an event and any risk factors that may lead to injury. If a horse's injuries are sufficiently severe, it may be necessary to euthanize a horse with the sole aim of minimising suffering. Retirement. Horses must be well cared for and treated humanely when their competition careers are over. The fifth and final point is that the FEI urges that all those involved in equestrian sport attain the highest level of education in their area of expertise relative to the care and management of the competition horse. Next, I'm going to talk about what is abuse. And as defined in Rule 1.3, abuse is an act or omission that causes or is likely to cause any pain or unnecessary discomfort to a horse. Some examples of this would be whipping or beating a horse excessively, using spurs persistently or excessively, jabbing a horse in the mouth with the bit, or competing a lame or exhausted horse, and so on. If we refer to Rule 1.4, the sighting of any fresh blood anywhere on a horse, either at the gear check prior to a test or during a test, will entail elimination. There is no appeal against this decision. If you are the judge at sea and you notice blood anywhere on a horse in a test you are judging, immediately stop the rider and inspect the blood. If the blood is fresh, then the combination has to be eliminated. If there's no fresh blood, then the test may resume. If the steward or gear checker discovers fresh blood in the horse's mouth or in the area of the spurs at the end of the test, they inform the judge at sea, who will eliminate the horse. If the steward or gear checker discovers fresh blood anywhere else on the horse's body at the end of the test, the horse is not automatically eliminated, but the judge at sea may eliminate the horse. A veterinarian may inspect the horse after elimination to decide if the horse is fit to continue in another test, and informs the organising committee in writing of the decision prior to that test. The veterinarian's opinion is final. Here we see some examples of abuse that we may encounter in a test situation. In the first picture, fresh blood is clearly visible in the horse's mouth, so this will entail elimination. In the second picture, we can clearly see a spur mark on the horse's side. In this case, we would stop the rider to inspect whether the blood is fresh or dry. In the third picture, we can see an example of a very tight noseband. During a test, if you are the judge at sea and suspect that a noseband is too tight, at the end of the test, instruct the rider to return to the gear check to have it checked. The gear steward is then to report back to the judge at sea. If a rider fails to loosen a noseband on request, the combination will be eliminated. If a horse shows marked lameness in a test and you are the judge at sea, ring the bell and inform the rider they are eliminated. There is no appeal against this decision. A horse that has been eliminated for lameness during a test can no longer compete in any further test for that day unless it's been deemed fit by a vet. The vet's report must be given to the organising committee for approval before that horse can compete in another test. Another situation that we might encounter is where a combination is unable to fulfil the requirements of the test. And this is per Rule 1.3.2. If you are the judge at sea and are of the opinion that either the combination is unable to fulfil the requirements of the level, the performance is not in the best interests of the horse's welfare, or the riding is abusive, then the combination should be eliminated. Once again, there is no appeal against this decision. It is a decision that requires careful consideration from the judge and also requires the judge to be very diplomatic. Questions to ask yourself as the judge in this situation would be: is the combination unable to fulfil the requirements of the test? Is it just that the test is of a particularly low standard? Is the horse clearly struggling, agitated, or nervous? Or is the riding abusive? As a guideline, if the test is going to fall in the 50% range, then we would consider this to be more just a poor performance. But if the test is going to fall in the 40% range or even lower, then serious consideration needs to be given to implementing this rule. For any acts of abuse that occur outside the competition arena where you are judging, as an official, you are required to report the witnessing of any abuse to the organising committee as soon as possible, or in writing to the EA state branch within 14 days, who then have the option to pass it to a disciplinary tribunal. If a judge educator, an FEI accredited judge, an EA or FEI steward, or an EA technical delegate is present at the event, they have the authority to issue a yellow warning card if they find it appropriate. So, in summary, be familiar with the code of conduct for the welfare of the horse and the points associated with it. Be alert to any acts of abuse and act on them appropriately. Any fresh blood seen anywhere on a horse, either during a test or at the gear check prior to a test, will entail elimination. The objective of dressage is to create a happy athlete through harmonious education. Some of our main tasks as judges are to set standards and to enhance the quality of riding, and we are responsible for the future of the sport of dressage. With all of this in mind, it's very important that we are educated in the care and management of the competition horse, and that the welfare of the horse is always paramount. Yay!